White text and a black background reads Thriving with Vision Loss with special guests Dana Barber, Matthew Haynes, and Bedarius Bell from Alabama Blind Services. This is a Zoom-style interview in single-speaker view. Michelle, the host, has short bob brown hair and is wearing a purple shirt and headband. She is seated in a black chair in front of a wood slat wall. Dana Barber has short blonde hair and is wearing a two-tone blue shirt. She is seated in the office setting. Matthew Haynes has brown hair and wears glasses, a blue shirt with a red logo, and an identification badge. He is also in an office setting. Bedarius Bell is bald with a gray and black goatee. He is wearing a white shirt and a subtly patterned purple jacket with glasses. His background is softly blurred. Most people don't know these services exist until the moment they need them the most. And in that moment, knowing where to turn can change everything. Today's conversation is about the programs, the people, and the work already happening in Alabama. It's designed to help people that are blind and have low vision to find independence, employment, and a path forward. This is Thriving with Vision Loss, an eleVIVO original series sharing real stories, practical tools, and lived wisdom from people building meaningful, independent lives while navigating blindness and low vision. eleVIVO supports individuals and families navigating vision loss and is built to scale with agencies and nonprofits and healthcare organizations that serve them. If that's you or someone you love, eleVIVO is offering a free 6-month trial. You'll find the link in the description below. Today, I'm joined by 3 leaders from the Alabama Department of Rehabilitation Services, known as ADRS. Dana Barber is the state coordinator for blind services at ADRS. She has spent more than 20 years working within this system. She has experienced vision loss herself, giving her a perspective that is genuinely rare. Matthew Haynes leads the OASIS program, a specialized initiative serving older Alabamans who are navigating vision loss and need both practical skills and real support. And Bedarius Bell is the director of special programs, overseeing services across the board for people who are blind and low vision, people who are deaf-blind or living with dual sensory loss. This is one of the most underserved populations in blindness services. Dana, Matthew, and Bedarius, thank you so much for being here. Dana, I'd love to start with you. For someone who's never heard of ADRS before, can you explain what the department does and who it's designed to serve?
Yes. So basically, our department helps people who have an onset of blindness or low vision. We educate them and we train them so that the ultimate goal to reach is employment.
Awesome. So who's eligible for these services?
Anyone in the state of Alabama who has a diagnosis of vision loss or blindness.
Okay, got it. And what surprises most people about eligibility? Do people think that they're not eligible when they actually are? Is that an issue?
I'm sure that happens, but we have counselors, that's the first point of contact, who can work with the consumer to determine eligibility. So there's no problem being eligible.
Awesome. So what does that first call for application look like? What happens? What do they ask?
Well, they contact a counselor, of course, and then they have a discussion, and the counselor needs to know a lot about what has happened and what their goals are. So if they want to work, for the first time, enter the job market for the first time, or after the onset of unexpected vision loss, then the counselor can help them build a plan. We call it an individual plan for employment. And then they will work through whatever it takes to get them to that last stage of the plan, which is employment.
Awesome. So ADRS focuses both on employment and independent living. How do those two goals work together for the people you serve?
Well, you can't be successful in a workplace if you're not independent. Mm-hmm. And so we have vision rehabilitation therapists, orientation and mobility specialists, and counselors within our agency. They're located in strategic places across the state. That makes it convenient for consumers to get to one of our offices and talk to one of our experts in the field. But all 3 work really closely together And their whole goal is to prepare that person for employment. But independence plays a huge part in employment.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yes, you have to be able to coordinate your clothes, you know, dress properly. You don't need to wear clothes that are spotted or stained. And, you know, you have to learn how to figure out if you have a spot on your clothes or, you know, something that doesn't need to be there. It's very important that our people who are blind fit into a sighted world.
That makes a ton of sense. Of course, it's hard for me to not be spotted when I go out sometimes, and I'm sighted.
No doubt. But I want our people to know they need to start out at least with
Yeah.
with a clean clothes.
Yeah, I get it entirely. So you've spent more than 20 years in this field and you have your own experience with vision loss. How did you come to start this work?
Well, my vision decreased over time. I have retinitis pigmentosa, and I never saw well, was diagnosed with this eye disease at the age of 5. And so by the age 24, I was legally blind. And I was still managing well because I had learned how to manage it over time because it was such a slow progression. But when it reached light perception only, and I realized that being at home was not what I called success, I reached out to our vocational rehabilitation department and I became a consumer. So I worked with my counselor. We developed a plan, and I decided that just getting a job was still not going to fulfill me. So I talked with my counselor and I decided to go to college. And after I obtained my BS degree, I was approached by our department and offered a position to come to work for ADRS as a professional placement coordinator. So I began working with our consumers who already had college degrees but had not gained employment yet. So I worked with our consumers to help them with work experiences and just gaining the skills that they may still have been lacking so that they could go to work. And the rest is history. So that's why I've been with the department for 20 years now.
Well, I think they're very lucky to have you. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you.
So, Matthew, I'd like to turn to you next. So, a lot of people may not know the OASIS program exists. Can you explain who it's designed for and what it provides?
Okay, so the OASIS program, it stands for Older Alabamian System for Information and Services, but it's our program that we call that provides services to people that are over age 55 with vision loss. So as Ada was talking about vocational rehabilitation, helping people go to work, the OASIS program basically extends the vision rehab therapy services and the O&M services to those who are over age 55 but don't want to go to work. You know, they've retired or passed their working careers, or just don't, want to pursue employment at this time. So we basically provide vision rehab therapy and O&M services across the state. What our staff do, they meet with them individually, usually in their homes, sometimes, in their apartments or senior living facilities, those kinds of places as well. But meet with them and do an individualized assessment to get to know them and learn more about their vision loss and how it's affecting them. Then they develop a plan of services where they come back out and provide them with instruction in a variety of things. It's very individualized. So it could be using magnifiers for reading for one person, or using a talking clock or talking watch to tell time, learning how to organize their medications. It really varies from person to person. So they do, that's what the VRT does, really in the home, helping them learn independent living skills. The O&M, orientation mobility specialist, really focuses more on their mobility skills, being able to get to the mailbox safely to get their mail, or find the dining area in their senior living facility, getting to the bus stop, that kind of thing, so they can remain independent as possible, whatever their living situation may be, so they don't have to go into like a nursing home or those kind of situations, just because of their vision loss. So
And everyone wants to stay at home.
that's right.
Nobody wants to be there. And it's so important for older people to be able to get around safely, because we fall and break things. And that's a problem.
That's right. And the VRTs also can try to help, as well as the O&Ms, try to address potential fall hazards and trip hazards in the home, those kinds of things that sighted individuals may not think about, but trying to make things more safely for our consumers.
Well, that's really important work that you're doing. So vision loss later in life isn't just a practical challenge. It can be really emotional too. If someone's lived with vision their entire life and then loses it, that must be that's hugely traumatic. How does OASIS address both sides of that?
Well, we do address that, and really it is one of the, I try to show that with our staff, even that's one of the primary things that they do, to help them gain that confidence that they can live as a blind or low vision person, or as a person with blindness or low vision, rather. But one of the things that we do, of course, we always talk to them and try to help them understand their eye condition, help them work with their family members if we need to help them understand their eye condition. We have peer support groups around the state that we can connect them with. Some are run by the Alabama Institute for the Deaf and Blind. Some are run by peers who actually lead the groups themselves, so they can feel like they're not alone in this new situation in their life. And some of our groups are tele support groups. They meet on Zoom or over the telephone, so that they can receive that kind of emotional support for themselves and for their families. That it's been a change of lifestyle, change of how they can do things and mindset, and so they can see they can adapt and still do the things that they need to do to stay independent and be part of their communities. So that's kind of how we try to address it.
That is absolutely wonderful. Very, very important work that you're doing. So what drew you to this work?
Well, really, I sort of stumbled into it a little bit. I started working with the department for almost 20 years as well. Got started working with a youth program with the department, Youth Leadership Forum, and I was fortunate to get involved with a part of that. My first job was working with a youth program called Transition Weekend, and got involved that way with more blind services here at ADRS. Because our department serves all ages pretty much from cradle to grave, but we have blind and deaf services and also our general services. So that's how I got to know more about blind services, was working it through that Transition Weekend program. And eventually that led me to getting a position as a vision rehab therapist. I worked actually within the same program at the OASIS program for about 3 years, and got to learn what they do and see the valuable work that our VRTs do to make a difference directly with somebody. Then I became a counselor for a few years, and then I got the opportunity to come back as the program coordinator, working with Bedarius and Dana to help our consumers and oversee the state program. Every state has an older blind program, is what they're called, around the country. OASIS is just what we name ours, but I'm really fortunate to be here. It has a really great history and a really good foundation being part of ADRS. So that's how I got started with it.
Well, thank you so much for sharing with us and being here today. I really appreciate you. So now, Bedarius, you're up. It's your turn. So
Right.
I'd love to bring you in now.
Okay.
So tell us what you do.
So I'm Bedarius Bell. I am the Director of Special Programs for ADRS. That involves a lot of different things. Policy development, it's quality assurance when it comes to evaluating our counselors and the casework that they do. Working with Matt and the older blind program, working with our audiologists, audiology team. So it's a lot of various things that go under that whole umbrella, handling contracts that manage a lot of the services that we're able to provide on deaf services and blind services, and a lot of our partnerships as well. So that kind of is in a nutshell of what I do.
So it sounds like being a collaborative team is really important with you guys.
Extremely.
And especially when you're dealing with the deafblind community, it's even more so because you have to deal with the audiologists and the low vision folks and coordinating that.
Yeah, very much so. Our agency is uniquely positioned because we are probably the only state agency that has staff audiologists under our umbrella that are actually, on in our offices.
Mhm.
So having that expertise just at your fingertips is just kind of a no-brainer to collaborate when it comes to working with our counselors for the blind, and all of our blind and low vision services when it comes to working with our deaf blind population.
That's a huge important work. It really is. So are there any outside partnerships that extend what your programs can offer?
Well, yeah, a lot of partnerships that we've developed and worked with over the years to various degrees. Helen Keller National Center has been a big influence into how we our philosophy of how we approach working with deafblind. Many years ago, they would always send representatives here annually. They would come into our staff trainings and meet with us, and we'd have these conversations. And so, from an agency standpoint, we have two sides of the house when it comes to our sensory impairment division. And we have Dana Barber, who's over blind, low vision. We also have Ben Hollingsworth, who's over deaf, hard of hearing. He's a state coordinator there. And so when we have people that are deaf blind, they could come through either side. They could have varying degrees and as far as like vision loss and hearing loss. Mm-hmm. So it's important that our partners like Helen Keller were able to come and say, well, this is an opportunity that you guys have to pair both sides of your resources and your expertise to look at how you even address this population. And it started way back then with making sure we were coding those cases in a way that would automatically identify that this is a person with a dual sensory loss. And that would kind of trigger our specialists and counselors to, okay, I may need to bring in an audiologist. I may need to bring in a vision rehab therapist. I may need to bring in an O&M specialist to help. And so that was one of the big partners. Alabama also has a deafblind coalition that meets quarterly, and it's a group of people from mental health. There's been people from Social Security, from all different agencies that work with people who are deafblind. And the coalition was initially developed to just be able to sit and handle any kind of challenging situations and figure out the resources within the state, even if they are outside of our agency. And the Alabama Institute for Deaf and Blind is also a big part of that. They have great expertise over there as well, and we partner with them a lot in different areas.
Well, it just seems like Alabama is one of the gold star states for dealing with the populations who are blind, deaf, or deafblind. You're looking in from the outside as a data person. Your programs are the most integrated that I've seen of any state. It's really, really impressive, and kudos to you for serving your populations in Alabama so well. So, what brought you to this field, Bedarius?
I've been with the agency for 28 years. I actually came in on the deaf side. I was a counselor for deaf, hard of hearing for many years. And then before this position, I was state coordinator of deaf services. So I always saw deafblindness from that side of the house. Alabama has the most famous deafblind person in history, right? Helen Keller is from Alabama.
Yep.
So that was, my introduction into working with people who are deafblind, populations that use tactile signing. And so just through my work and working with the agency and being able to come into this position and work on actually both sides of the house with blind, low vision, and deaf, hard of hearing, it's just been a dream come true.
Oh, that's awesome. So thank you so much. And now I want to bring all three of you together for the final questions. So thinking about the people you serve every single day, where do the gaps still exist? Where do people most often get stuck or not find their way into your services?
But this is Matt. I'll go as far as trying to find our services. Our staff does a great job of doing community outreach about the OASIS program, trying to get the word out, going to health fairs, talking to eye doctors, and all those sort of things. It always seems to be difficult to get the word out, especially to some eye care providers sometimes, to refer to us. We often hear the story, I wish my doctor had told me about you 3, 4, 5 years ago, and that's always a challenge for us, even though a large number of our referrals do come from eye doctors. We know there's more out there. And all those events that we try to do to try to increase awareness do help. That's why it's important to do things like this to get the word out about our services, because so often you hear, even for about rehab, I wish I'd known about you earlier. No one told me, no one told my employer. It's really a common thing that we often hear.
Yeah, I actually hear that a lot. Or the famous, there's nothing more we can do. Bye-bye. And they don't tell the people where to go next. All they get is there's nothing more we can do. And then you have the depression and people tending to, isolate themselves from the society when they don't have to.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart. So technology is moving really fast right now, especially with AI and digital tools. How do you see emerging technology as fitting alongside what you already provide?
That's a huge challenge with AI and all the changes that are happening. I think there are a lot of great things that are happening as far as the advancement in technology when it comes to this population. We're able to go to a couple of conferences and seeing some of the things you think with like meta glasses and the things that they're able to do, and just so many new technology, but it's also challenging because that also opens up the possibility for people to kind of be taken advantage of as well. So we're trying to balance that in our agency. We want to have, the kind of technology that people can really use and benefit in their daily lives, but not expose them to things that, that may not be as beneficial to them.
Yeah, through our program, what we do is we always tell people don't buy anything expensive if there's going to be, unless you've talked to a blind, low vision optometrist, first, because otherwise, it may not help you. It might help somebody else, but it might not help you. Don't go laying out, $10,000 on something that's not going to help you. And that's really important.
This is Dana Barber.
Yes.
Technology really is it puts those of us who can't see on an equal playing field. It's what gives us the opportunity to interact with the public, like, pardon me, like everyone else does. Meta glasses are one of those items that has helped me a lot, and they're inexpensive. And that's important. Some of the technology is just priced so high, and it's difficult to use. There's a huge learning curve with new technology, and you really have to let technology build on itself as it comes to you. I started out with zero skills, And I went to our Institute for Deaf and Blind here in Talladega, and I learned my skills there, the basic skills. I had to keep learning and try new technology as it was available. It took time to learn these skills and to learn how to use the technology, but it really is the great equalizer. And you've got to learn to use your technology to be successful in college or in the workplace. So I just want to encourage those out there who have vision loss to embrace it. It's intimidating, but if you embrace it and you are determined and you stay with it and you learn how to use it, it will make a huge difference in your life, in your education journey, in your job. You can be, someone who is blind can be just as successful in a job as someone sighted if they learn to use their assistive technology.
Yeah, we have a tech tester named Scotty that's he swears by the meta glasses. He has a YouTube channel called The Blind Striker, and he does like all the new tech and he reviews it. And he's a young man. He's like 20, just turned 22, but he's not afraid of the tech yet. So he keeps learning and he's willing to try just about anything. And it's pretty neat. And he says that the meta glasses are fantastic.
They really are.
And he can afford them, which is even more fantastic.
Yes. Yes.
You know, this is Bedarius. The other thing that I really love about the way technology is going now is that the technology is so integrated into society that everybody's using meta glasses, whether you have a vision loss or not. Same way with our phones, you know, with your iPhone, you got accessibility. You don't have to have this specialized technology that, you know, nobody else can kind of understand. It's kind of integrated in everything that everybody's using. So people don't stand out as more using some of this technology because, like I said, it's everywhere.
Yeah. We live in a much more technological society. You know, I'm sure that that's a little bit harder for the people who are the aging boomers who aren't quite as familiar with it. But the people in Gen X and younger, we kind of get it.
Right.
Is that kind of the case, Matt, with the older generation that's starting to age into macular degeneration?
That is generally true, especially because we're serving those that are 55 and older. You know, we serve a gamut of generations and their experience levels. But, you know, we are dealing with that. Some more of as the baby boomers are starting to come in, you know, really most of our consumers are age 75 and older. So, and that's just generally the case around the country. That's when vision loss tends to occur. So a lot of folks are they're not digital natives. They're not used to using computers. Some even had their whole work histories without really having to use computers. But as we go along, we're finding more people that grew up, you know, or came along in their careers, you know, using when computers started getting, you know, becoming part of everyday life, and having a personal computer wasn't an unusual thing. And so it's gradually becoming more and more of a common thing. But you know, older persons want to be involved. They want to be part of the new things too, and they want to, you know, text their grandchildren and keep up with different things as well. So it really is a challenge for our staff because while we try to stay up on some of these things, you know, a vision rehab therapist is not a technology, you know, expert. And the technology changes so quickly and there is so much, often we have to say, well, we'll refer you to AIDB for, you know, technology assistance. You know, I'm going to help you with, you know, cooking in the kitchen, those kinds of things.
Yeah. Because
often it's too much for us to keep up with. It's not just CCTV, you know, reading machines and electronic magnifiers now. It's, you know, the OCR devices, those kinds of things. It's wonderful. It's wonderful, but it's also hard to find the right thing for the right person sometimes. So
yeah, there's so much of it out there. It's mind blowing. I try to keep up on it and it's hard. That's when I don't sleep. That's what I'm doing, scrolling on my phone, learning about the new stuff. There's a gap between the people who are able to work and the people who are older blind. There's kind of people in the middle there. What do we do with them? Is there a place for them?
We do have some limited services for that group. With our partnership with the Alabama Institute for Deaf and Blind, we're able to use some of our vision rehab therapists to serve some of that general population that may not be OASIS, may not be ready for employment. So we have some limited services when it comes to that. Not a whole lot of funding, but we do have some.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the people who especially have multiple disabilities, trying to keep them safe too, if they lose their vision. For someone in Alabama or anywhere else who is navigating vision loss and don't know where to start, what would you want them to hear today?
I would want them to hear that vocational rehabilitation services is a good place for them to start. You don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
So, reaching out to us, becoming a consumer, learning what is available, what services we have that can assist them, and maybe even us talking about some success stories that we've had, pairing them up with connecting them with someone else maybe who would be willing to talk to them that has walked in their shoes. Those are ways to introduce what our programs are and how we can help them be successful, because when someone has an onset of vision loss, they don't know that we're out here to serve them, and they sit at home and they become bored, they gain weight, they become depressed. And then someone says, well, have you ever looked online maybe to find out if there's somewhere in the state that can help you? And they start doing research, or they run across someone else who knows about our agency. And so, they finally are able to get in touch with us and talk to us and get involved in our services. It makes a big difference. Some of my background is a vision rehabilitation therapist. And this is when I was actually working for the Alabama Institute for Deaf and Blind in their adult program at E.H. Gentry. And I was the independent living instructor for our blind and low vision consumers. And I would get grown men come in and sit at my table and cry because they were tough men. They were working construction, and then say, glaucoma hits them out of the blue, and they don't know what to do. And they're searching for someone to help them. And they finally get connected with BR Services. And in the beginning, they're just totally distraught. They're in tears. They're depressed. And they get involved with our services, and we start working individually with them. And they start gaining skills, and they start gaining confidence. And they feel like they've become a whole person again. And then they're excited about what the future holds for them, because we've worked with them and they've met other people who have vision loss who've been successful, and they've made decisions for their own life that has improved their outlook on life. And they're whole again, and they're happy again, and they're fulfilled with employment again. And that's what we are here to do. And that's the message that I would like for our consumers across the state of Alabama to know, is just that we are here. We can help them navigate through, skill gains and training, education, whatever it takes, so that they can re-enter the workforce, maybe not in the same workforce area they were in before vision loss, but we can certainly help them gain skills where they can become employed in a different area of the workforce. So it's not the end of life. You get to a point after all of these, gaining all these skills and this information, where vision loss does not define you. You're a person, and you happen not to be able to see well. There's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is if you let that define you, and you let that bring you down. And it can. I've heard of people, I've not known anyone, but there are people out there with vision loss who were suicidal. Mm-hmm. And they just couldn't stand. They couldn't live anymore in the condition they were in. So I want to help. I say I'm significantly annoyed. I'm not significantly disabled. So that's where I want to get.
I love that.
Where they can learn to laugh again and join in with other people, sighted people in a sighted world, mm-hmm. where they once were, mm-hmm. and they can be again. And so that's the reason we do what we do. It's the reason we develop the programs we develop, is, totally to get that person whole again. Mm-hmm. So that may have been a whole lot more than you were.
No, that's really powerful. And I think everybody needs to hear that. I really do. I mean, we kind of share a mission. It's called Elevating Lives and Restoring Hope. Because with hope, anything is possible.
True.
So, Matthew or Bedarius, do you have anything to add?
I don't know how to follow that.
Yeah, I know, huh?
I really don't either. It really is a message of hope, that there is hope, after vision loss, after hearing loss. You still are a person. You still can contribute to your home, to your community. It's hard to sum that up better than what she said already.
Yeah, I know, huh? She's amazing. So Dana, Matthew, and Bedarius, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you so much for your time and for the work you do every single day. Where can people in Alabama go to learn more about ADRS and the programs we've talked about?
You can go to our website, rehab.alabama.gov, or people can call me directly. Share my number, 256-761-6825.
Great. And so what I'll do is, if you guys give me a list of links, I'll put them in the description of this video. That way people can go ahead and contact you guys and reach out and take advantage of all the wonderful work that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Thriving with Vision Loss. If this conversation resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share so more people navigating vision loss can find practical guidance in real community. Until next time, keep thriving and have the best day ever. Thanks for tuning into our series, Thriving with Vision Loss. If you would like to learn more about thriving with blindness or low vision, check out eleVIVO.com. If you have questions or would like to be featured in an upcoming episode of our Thriving with Vision Loss series, email Michelle B at eleVIVO.com. Links are in the description. The white letters on the black background fade as Circles by Classless Act plays.
Your way.